Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order. Could we get a roll call, please?
Chairman Winters,
Here.
Board Member Ezell,
Here.
Board Member Rogers, Board Member Stevens, Vice Chairperson Wilson,
Here.
We, everybody would stand with me and let's pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, has everybody had the opportunity to look at the meetings from September the 14th? Any discussion, anything to be noted?
I make a motion, we accept these minutes.
Okay, have a motion, a second, get a roll call, please.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Wilson,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. First case up for tonight is the property at 5001 Fine Drive. Get an
All
update
right.
on that, please.
Yes, sir. So, 5001 Fike came before the Housing Commission on September the 14th. The last order was for code enforcement to post a notice for demolition. Together with the notice of this order, the property would be demolished within 60 days from the date of the issuance. So, Mark, Mr. Litchford, came to me probably a week after the last meeting and said that he would like for us to get CTI engineering to do a structural report and inspection before we actually moved forward with the demo. So I actually received that report this morning, and I would like to read it to you all.
Yeah.
We reflect the minutes to show that Commissioner Stevens is here. No problem.
You
All
go
right,
ahead.
We ready? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the report from CTI. Kenneth Price, their senior structural engineer, said on Tuesday, September the 29th, 2020, a site visit with the subject address at 5001 Fike was conducted by the representatives of City of East Ridge and CTI engineers. We observed that the structure at 5001 Fike Drive was vacant and appeared to be abandoned. There are multiple areas of foundation settlement, cracks, and failures. The property is littered with trash and wood debris in, around, and under the house. The downstairs floor has multiple holes and soft areas consistent with moisture, rotten floors, and foundation settlement. Mike Bell with CTI returned to the property on Tuesday, October the 6th, 2020, with the representative of Kirkland's Pest Control. The pest control representative inspected the crawl space and found its moisture content to be relatively high at 25%. He noticed that fungi was present on the floor joist and that the high moisture reading under the house is conducive to the growth and reproduction of fungi. There was no visible evidence of termite activity at the time of his inspection, but there were loose wood pieces under the house and no vapor barrier that had been installed. Although the roof appeared to be sound, there is a lack of adequate roof and attic ventilation. Please see the attached photos and pest control inspection letter. So, Kirk's Pestling Control, they did a review agreement, and again, they said that there was a visual inspection of crawl space, revealed fungi present on floor joists, and a moisture reading of 25%, which is conducive to the growth and reproduction of fungi. So at this point, we are to move forward with demolition. We can post a notice of demo on the structure and then post an article in the local newspaper to let any representatives from the property know that we are going to move forward with demolish the structure.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we've already voted on this. So
Correct.
thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next property,
Do we need to put in a motion that we continue with that?
Mr. Attorney.
If you want to keep it on for status or monitoring, I would recommend making a motion to keep it.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we continue to follow our previous motion to demolish this property at 5001 Fike.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Wilson,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. The next property is 3707 Wiley Avenue. Do we have any representatives here from that property? Okay,
All right, so 3707 Wiley Avenue was brought before the Housing Commission on September the 14th as well. In this order, code enforcement was instructed to post a notice of demolition together with the notice of the order and for the demolished structure to be taken, or the structure to be demolished within 60 days from the notice. However, Mr. Litchford wanted this case brought back before the Housing Commission to give the property representative as well as the property owner some time to come before the board to see what we could do as far as working with them to move forward with compliance. Mr. Green was contacted by our office as well as Mr. Litchford to be present for tonight's meeting. If anything's changed, anyone else knows any differently, then
The only thing I would, if I'm sorry to interrupt you, Cameron.
No,
the only
you're-
thing I
go
would
ahead.
add to that is, notice was, I believe, sent via certified mail,
and regular mail.
regular mail,
And email.
electronic mail.
Several.
Our office received today the standard mail back saying forward time expired, return to sender. Green, 4106 Ely Road, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37412.
Isn't that where he told us he lived? Was
Correct.
on Ely? Okay, that's what I thought.
I've got, there's email correspondence between Mr. Litchford and Mr. Green.
As well as
confirming
myself.
That 4106 Ely Road, Eastridge, Tennessee is a valid residence for Mr. Green, and confirming that the email that Mr. Litchford sent correspondence to, I believe it's jgreentn@hotmail.com, was also a valid email address.
Correct.
And there have also been phone calls.
Mr.
Correct.
Litchford actually had
Yeah,
a verbal
that's-
conversation with Mr.
Correct.
Green last week regarding this meeting, as well as the new notices that were sent out and the notice of rescheduling that I was dated October the 2nd, signed by myself, emailed to Mr. Green, sent regular and certified mail to both the 3707 Wiley and the 4106 Ely Road address.
Okay. I believe we've given this gentleman more than enough time, except for the fact that if he's not received this, at least he's had verbal confirmation. Unless there's discussion, I'd like to make a motion that in 60 days we demolish it. Because he did have to, he's now said, yes, he's been given the information. And if he didn't have it before now, he does.
Is the
He
city-
also still has 10 days to appeal it anyway, then he can appeal it to the city council. if he
Correct.
chooses. He has up to October the 22nd, 2020 to appeal that. That would be 10 days from tomorrow, so that gives him ample time to go before the council. I had checked with Inspector McAllister. This started in November of 2019, so we're knocking on the door of a year, and rats are just getting more.
City's still maintaining the property.
We have not maintained the property since, I believe, June or July of 2020. We've been out to the property, I think, twice this summer to mow it, weed eat, and just maintain it into what would be code compliant. But since then, I have not issued another post for cleanup for the city to go out and clean it up. Mr. Green was in correspondence to keeping the property maintained. After all, he is the proper representative, but since then he has failed to do so.
I'm still curious if he has power of attorney, the son.
As far as we know, we have not been presented with any power of attorney.
To our council, does that create any issues or problems?
I think he's representing to the city that he is the representative of that property. It sounds like he has the apparent authority, without more, on its face, he has the apparent authority to conduct business relative to that property.
So we're clear to go ahead and order demolition of that property at this point. I just want to make sure the city's protected and there's not going to be any ramifications, because if you look at his email addresses, he has a total of 9 email addresses, and at least one of them has satisfied delivery because they
That-
have
and
received.
That's my understanding that Mr. Litchford never received any kickback return or any other notice that the email was undelivered to
Yeah.
that
Correct.
email address.
My understanding as well.
I think Mr. Green has been given ample notice, and based upon his own representations to the city and representatives of the city, as to his authority over that property, I think the city is well within its boundaries to take action tonight.
With that, I'll second Commissioner Stevens' motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. To proceed, get a roll call, please.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Wilson,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. What doesn't make sense about that whole deal to me, that's a valuable piece of property up there.
We
And
have went above and
There's no
beyond.
liens against the property, no mortgage against it. He's got less than $4,000 worth of property taxes due on it. You know, it doesn't make sense to me, but anyway. Yeah. The next property on the agenda is 1302 Pleasant Street. We have a representative here from that property.
We do.
Come on up, sir, please.
Come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, did you pick all that up? I'm having a hard time hearing. I'm hard of hearing to start
can-
with.
You can lower your mask at that and you can move that chair and get closer to the microphone too. Or sit down in it if you want.
Okay. Condemnation.
So I can elaborate a little bit more on that. So Friday afternoon, our division was made aware of some changes that tied into 1302 Pleasant Street. Originally, we were here back in September with a Mr. Kawan Parks, if everyone remembers. He was having some trouble getting the deed signed over. He bought it in an auction, I believe last year or the year before at a tax sale or something. So since then, Mr. Parks sold the property on August the 11th of 2020 to Mr. Holguin. And that was his name. His name is Geraldo Holguin. And he lives at 1065 Meeting Place in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37421. He has purchased the property with intentions to flip it and reside there himself. However, on Friday, he had a gentleman come in, I believe his name was David, to pull a building permit. We did not grant that permit due to some issues that were going on with the Housing Commission, as well as we needed to kind of get into the property and see what was going on before we issued a permit. Not only because the guy who wanted to pull the permit was not the property owner or a licensed contractor within the state of Tennessee, so we did not issue that permit. I spoke to Mr. Holguin this morning to let him know about our meeting. This is the first time that we ever spoke. I got some contact information as well as a valid mailing address from him and his wife, and a little bit more information regarding their intentions for the property. With that said, I went over to 1302 Pleasant this morning or this afternoon to get some updated pictures, not necessarily progress pictures, because I didn't realize that work had been done. However, I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding, or not necessarily all of the information was available. However, there has been some significant work done since we were last here. There has been a lot of framing and structural repairs, new windows, electrical work, a replacement of panels, things like that. At this time, there have been no permits pulled. We have not been out there to do any type of progress updates, inspections, anything of that sort. So I brought the pictures back today. I can pass them around, but I spoke with Mr. Howell, our chief building official, and at this time, I went ahead and issued a stop work order for the property just so that we can get on the same page as far as compliance with the board and myself, as well as the rest of my team, and see what we can do to move forward. We don't want to see this property, be abandoned again, nor do we think that the structure needs to be demolished, but we do want to be all on one page as far as compliance goes. And I think Mr. Hoagland understands that as far as what we want to see as far as compliance and what this property has looked like for the past year and a half. So I can pass these pictures around and then we can go from there.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate your effort to at least do something. You know, it's hard to know all the rules and regulations, but
And coming tonight.
um, I looked you up on LinkedIn today because I never had heard your name before in the building industry or investment company around in Chattanooga before, but you worked with Marriott for 30 years, is that correct? Memorial? Well, maybe there's somebody else I was looking at on the LinkedIn account.
Maybe he can get you a discount at the Marriott.
I know within the last year that foundation's been underwater over there on that property. And I know it has been for several times over the past several years. It's in a flood zone. So I'm sure you'll have to go through that with the codes enforcement.
We'll most likely do a substantial improvement packet
Yeah.
Okay.
to see what we can do as far as renovations and things like that. Again, I'll have to talk to Mr. Howell as far as some framing and structural inspections go. But they have completed some work, not all. I did notice that there were some load-bearing walls taken out and some other things that I had some concerns about. You can see some of that in those pictures. But like I said, we can fix this. It's not something that we can't, work through. But I am excited to see some progress,
Yeah.
especially over what we've been through with the property over the last year.
The one thing that stuck out about that property to me was the decking on the ceiling joist. It looks like a roller coaster. Have you noticed that? So,
It looks like you've just totally gutted and ready to rock and roll with it. So that's good. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Inspector McAllister, in the last high water we had, did it get inside this house or just come up to parts of the foundation?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I haven't been affiliated with this case very long. It was one that I just kind of inquired. According to some of the other inspectors with my office, I'm not sure how often it has flooded. I know that it has before, but I don't know how recent it was.
I think the earliest I go back to is 1973, and it was up over the windows, almost to the sills of the roof.
It was 73 when it flooded Eastgate. Is that- yeah,
Everything was
okay.
underwater back then, even Kmart
I was very young.
apartments. So you weren't born yet?
No, I was, but I was a whole 7 years old.
So will the FEMA guidelines
But I'll go with that.
determine whether he needs to raise the house?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If we do a substantial improvement packet with this property, then it will determine whether or not, depending on what type of work he's wanting to do, if we exceed a certain percentage of work, then at that point, this property would have to be compliant with the regulations with FEMA.
That was gonna be my question, because did we not at one time have an estimate of what it would cost to fix this house back right?
That was a different house
Yeah,
on
not
Pleasant,
this
wasn't it?
property, no.
That was the two
Been
ladies.
so long we've been messing with it.
Yeah.
Cameron.
As a matter of fact, we've had several houses in that neighborhood that
Yeah, that's really what it is. We've had 3 on that block.
There you go.
I take it these are licensed contractors doing the wiring. Oh,
We actually don't know who's done the work.
okay.
But a licensed electrical contractor will come back in and check that. We will. use-
At this point, we have issued a stop work order. So I allowed the workers who were present this afternoon to clean up what they were working on. No further work can be conducted until we move forward with this meeting and until proper permits are pulled by licensed contractors within the state. And then at that point, if we do need either one of our contracted trade inspectors to go out and do an inspection of whatever work it may be, we can do so at that point.
when you went over and looked at the house for the first time, was the house not posted?
No,
There was no notices?
all it said is private property, don't trespass. But that was all that was there. Never met the prior owner. I got this through a wholesaler, which is more like an intermediary between the owner and some buyer. So we never met, and I didn't know of any of these issues other than
Yeah.
going to the closing agency.
Okay.
How long do you think it would take him to get the FEMA packet completed? 60
Um,
days?
Well, what we can do is after tonight, we can schedule a time for him to come in and sit down with myself as well as the chief building official and see what all work he wants to do to bring the property into compliance. And then as far as the substantial improvement packet, we could see if it meets the minimum regulations to fill that out.
Okay. We have a motion to pass this case. Gonna pass it 30 days, 60 days.
Let's
To me, I think we need to
What?
just put it on hold and
Yeah,
let
that's what I was
codes
thinking.
bring it back to us when they're ready for us to hear it again.
I think that would be a good thing. Just so that we
I mean, do we have to put a date on it? I mean, how many days on it? Or can we say when codes brings it back to us?
It would be cleaner, and I think everybody would have more notice if we just set it on,
Yeah,
set it out.
well, can I
put a
make a
date on it
motion
to come
that
back.
we come back in 60 days to see where everybody is?
sure.
That date would be December.
Okay. Can you, somebody put that in the form of a motion?
Make a motion that we postpone, no, it's not the right word. Excuse me?
Bring it back.
Yes, bring it back in 60 days to see where we are on the, with the, I can't do it today. Can't get all the words out, do it.
I make a motion, we bring this back December the 14th for review upon meeting with codes and the owner of the property.
I'll second that,
Okay.
because that's what I tried to
We have
say.
a motion and a second to pass it for 60 days. Can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes,
Vice Chairperson Wilson,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, sir. See you in
Go for your
60
time.
days and good
Um,
luck working with codes enforcement.
that FEMA form throws people, make sure you understand it. I'm not saying that you won't, but
Right.
that has been an issue in the past. Just understand what that FEMA form is so that you can get everything done in a timely manner. And thank you.
Does he have your card? and
Yeah,
contact
I'm actually
information?
about to give him some contact information.
Does he need to wait for a copy of the order?
Do we have to sign it? Do you have to sign anything for him today?
Okay.
I think everything.
Do we have any other business to come before the board? We're adjourned.